is committed to working with Dr. Lungu's family to reach an arrangement that takes into consideration the family's wishes and interests, but also takes into account the rights of the government. Our position is unchanged. The late president deserves a dignified funeral in keeping the stature of his office.
South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighters Party says it is not surprised by the announcement of the indefinite delay in the commencement of the Commission of Inquiry into criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system. This follows the announcement by the Commission earlier today, which is led by Chairperson Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga. The Commission says hearings will not commence on the 1st of September as anticipated due to delays in the procurement of vital infrastructure. EFF National spokesperson Sinawo Tambo.
We aren't surprised. We had said at the time when Cyril Ramaphosa placed Senzo Mchunu on a special leave, which is not provisioned for in the Constitution of South Africa, that this is nothing but a political ploy to play on the anxieties of the people of South Africa, because we all know that commissions in this country are ordinarily established to ensure that we forget the transgression in the immediate and over time we focus on another topical issue. Now, this is part and parcel of something that vindicates us, because if there was no forethought as to how this is going to be funded, how the infrastructure for it is going to be sourced, but also, damningly, the fact that there's no existing infrastructural capacity to host a mere commission means that it was established just to play to the political gallery.
Stats SA says over 40% of female assault victims feel unsafe with their partners or spouses. Statistician General Risenge Maluleke says over 47% of females reported that they were assaulted by their spouse or intimate partner. He says this emphasizes the harsh reality that many women are vulnerable to harm from those closest to them. Maluleke released the Victims of Crime report from the Governance Public Safety and Justice Survey 2024-2025 in Pretoria today.
More females reported that a spouse or an intimate partner as the perpetrator, as compared to males who reported that the perpetrator was an unknown person.
South Africa's Electoral Commission says it is improving the processes to enhance voting efficiency during next year's local government elections. Briefing the media at its headquarters in Centurion, north of Johannesburg today, IEC Deputy Chief Electoral Officer Masego Shiburi focused on interventions made regarding the voter management devices registration app.
It created duplicate records and therefore slowed down the rate at which we could confirm the correctness of voters at their voting station. We have isolated the issue, we have rewritten that app, and we will be commissioning external validation to give us assurance that the app will function as it is coded to do on voter registration.
And finally, US President Donald Trump has said he will immediately remove Federal Reserve official Lisa Cook from her position in a major escalation in his battle against the US Central Bank. He said there was sufficient reason to believe Cook had made false statements on mortgage agreements and cited constitutional powers which he said allowed him to remove her. In response, Cook said Trump had no authority to fire her and she would not resign. It is an unprecedented move for the president to dismiss a member of the central bank's leadership and comes as Trump has put increasing pressure on the Fed, especially its chair Jerome Powell, over what he sees as an unwillingness to lower interest rates. Recapping the top story this hour, the Zambian government has welcomed South Africa's Constitutional Court order refusing the family of the late former President Edgar Lungu to directly appeal the judgment of the High Court in Pretoria. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Chola Webe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our sports headline, French football side have signed the Nigerian superstar on a 2-year contract. Ferdinando Manyala is enjoying lucrative endorsement with global brands. I'll be back with these and other stories at the bottom of the hour.
Connecting Africa to the world. Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni brings you the latest insights on Africa's economy.
It is a very good afternoon to you, Africa. Here's what we've got in store for you on Africa in Business. on this Tuesday afternoon. We'll take a look at 11 High Court judges in Uganda. They are now without jobs. This is after their 2-year contracts recently lapsed. We'll be talking to Andrew Karamagi regarding that. And this case was taken to the Constitutional Court. Also a focus on developments around FNB in Zambia in an effort to empower micro, small and medium enterprises. They've signed an MOU with the Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme. If you are a business person in Zambia, I'm sure this is something that will be of specific and particular interest to you. What are the details of the scheme and how do you access it? In our Standard Bank slot today, we'll be looking at the Kasi SME National Pitch Challenge Summit 2025. So what is Kasi? Kasi is literally the township. Kasi is where the majority of South Africans live. Kasi is what you would call the hood. Okay, so we'll be looking at the National Pitch Challenge taking place recently, and we'll be joined by the head of enterprise and supply development at business and commercial banking at Standard Bank. And we do know that the local economy, the Kasi economy, is a vibrant one and is oftentimes the pillar of many communities. 8 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. This and a whole lot more coming up on Africa in Business this afternoon.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
We begin here with Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa has launched a production booster kit program where small-scale farmers will receive at least $6,000 to repay over the next 10 years. The booster facility is set to benefit 10,000 farmers who, from the start, did not benefit from various government input and loan schemes. John Kasim reports from Zimbabwe.
The Second Republic, in its people-centered development policies, leaves no one and no place behind. To guarantee inclusion of A1 farmers that did not benefit from the various irrigation schemes throughout the country, I am pleased today to announce the launch of the Productivity Booster Kit program. 10,000 A1 farmers will benefit under phase 1 of this program.
That was Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa while in Mazoe, north of the capital, where he launched the National Production Booster Kits for A2 farmers. At least 10,000 farmers countrywide will receive the loans that will enhance their production on farms under these initiatives. The program is aimed at transforming rural agriculture from the traditional subsistence farming to commercial farming. The booster kits facility comes with $6,000 loan facility that will be repaid over a 10-year period. Meanwhile, the initiative is very important as it is targeting farmers who received between 1 to 3 hectares of land during the redistribution program. These are small-scale farmers and were not included in other government initiatives such as tractors and livestock stocking programs, Mnangagwa said.
Under this initiative, each farmer is said to get a loan of $6,000. That money is for purchasing productivity booster kits to irrigate between 1 up to 3 hectares. My government plans to allocate $1.98 billion American dollars over 10 years as a loan for the Productivity Booster Kit program. Additionally, 5 banks have committed to provide additional working capital.
Meanwhile, Zimbabwe has embarked on a number of climate-smart agriculture initiatives. These interventions are at 2 levels, beginning at the household level with the Sustainable Intensive Conservation Agriculture Model, popularly known as Pfumvudza, in Twasa. This has been widely adopted and is held to bolster food security, as it is complemented by matching of specific crops to the respective agroecological regions of the country. While the country targets to put 496,000 hectares of land under irrigation, currently 222,000 has been achieved, a remarkable 27% increase from 2019. Meanwhile, in 2024, Zimbabwe began issuing title deeds as a more secure tenure for A1 and A2 farmers. This will enable many farmers to access affordable financing towards increased production, mechanization, and on-farm infrastructure development. John Kasim in Harare, Zimbabwe, for Channel Africa News.
The KwaZulu-Natal Convention Bureau, in collaboration with Milvest Advisory and the city of Umhlathuze, bring you the 2025 Tourism Investment Forum Africa. As a global platform for local action, the Tourism Investment Africa aims to promote the secondary and tertiary cities and regions as attractive investment and tourism hubs. Be part of the movement transforming tourism in Africa. Join us for the TIFA 2025 from August 27 to 29 at Tembela Venue, Richards Bay, KZN, South Africa. The Midnight Snack, 12 to 3 a.m.
Young couples or young people that are getting married, we often hear of divorces, that they're getting divorced, and it's quite worrying because when we attend these weddings, we want to see these people flourish and celebrate 30-year anniversaries. What do you think is the main challenge that is facing newlyweds?
We say that tell me how you were raised and I'll tell you how you love. So when we see people getting married, that's not where the relationship actually starts. The relationship starts with how you were raised, what you were familiar with, because we are attracted to what we are familiar with. If you don't have a background where love was prominent, where love was authentic, it's going to be very difficult for you to manufacture that in later life. So our upbringing has something to do with it.
The Midnight Snack, every Monday, 12 to 3 a.m. with Chanduko Ligege. Africa means business. Tune into Africa in Business with Thami Ngubeni for the future of the African economy. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is exactly 14 minutes after 4 p.m. Central African time. We're going to be talking in just a short while to lawyer Andrew Karamagi regarding a rather interesting case that's taking place in Uganda, where 11 High Court judges have been left without their jobs. They have deemed this as unconstitutional. We'll find out what the parameters are of this argument and what the way forward is for these judges. We'll also be looking in our Standard Bank slot feature today on the empowerment efforts being made on the local township economy called the Kasi economy. It's the SME National Pitch Challenge Summit 2025, understanding the importance of a pitch. How do you structure it, and how do you get investors interested in your particular venture, interested enough to want to put their money behind it, to back your dream, to back your project. We'll be speaking this afternoon to the head of enterprise and supply development at the Business and Commercial Banking. All of that coming up just before 5 p.m. today. We start here, however, in Uganda, where 11 High Court judges are now without their jobs. This is after their 2-year contracts recently lapsed. In the year 2022, the country's constitutional court ruled that appointing High Court judges in a quote-unquote acting capacity for extended periods of time, such as 2 years, for example, is unconstitutional. To give us more details regarding this, we're joined on the line by the lawyer that has taken this case to the Constitutional Court. That's Andrew Karamagi. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Welcome to Africa in Business.
Good afternoon. Pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for having me.
So could you take us through the case of these 11 judges who were left without employment and whose contracts had expired?
Great. So the genesis of this is that there has been a protracted campaign over the years to emasculate the judiciary and reduce it into an institution that is not able to dispense justice as is provided for by the 1995 Constitution of Uganda. Key to this function is the independence of the judiciary and judicial officers insofar as their tenure, their independence, and their ability to manage cases without interference from any persons or institutions or authority. Now, what General Museveni has done, because the Constitution gives him the power of appointments with the approval of Parliament and in consultation with the Judicial Service Commission, is to ignore those procedural requirements, and instead of following those requirements as per the relevant legislation, including the Constitution, is to now give or make judicial appointments on what is called, and rather very irregularly, what is called acting capacity or contracts, so to say, 2-year contracts or other short-term contracts to judges. Of course, the obvious contradiction here is that a judge has no way of knowing whether a case they are determining will last 1 month, 2 months, a year, or so. So then the question becomes, and which was one of my and my colleagues' contentions in the case, was that how then will a judge be independent if they've been offered a short-term contract that can expire and render them unemployed? We took these arguments to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court agreed with us and directed the executive to regularize his appointments, which hasn't happened. And as has now happened, these judicial officers have been rendered unemployed. That's the situation.
There are two aspects here, the first of which is the unemployment of the judges and the instability in their careers. There's another one that comes to mind, and that is, does the instability of the judges in any way compromise the execution of justice for those whose cases are still pending when those judges then have to step down? Is that a factor?
There is that factor indeed, and at about 3 levels. The first one is obvious. It is that you are not sure how long you have as a judicial officer, yet your cases aren't time-bound either. And so because they aren't time-bound, there's no way of knowing, there's no way of you executing your mandate freely. That's the first. The second is that because your appointment, your tenure as a judge is dependent on pleasing or satisfying the whims of the appointing authority, you have to be careful how you render decisions, obviously, which is a drawback on judicial independence. The third one is outside of the courtroom. The third one is around the trust that we, the citizens, we, the public, have in these institutions. If we know that the courts are acting on the whims of or at the mercy of the appointing authority, how can we trust their actions? So it undermines the judiciary at more than one level. It undermines it both in the courtroom and outside the courtroom.
So these temporary tenures, these temporary contracts, are they across the entire judiciary, or is it just for a select few?
That's a great question, and I'll answer it this way. The most affected officers are those of the judges of the High Court. And the reason why in the Ugandan jurisdiction this is critical is because the High Court is the court that is vested with what we call original unlimited jurisdiction. Simply, what that means is that this is the court of first instance, both for civil and criminal matters. So that if you have compromised the High Court, the foundation of the court system, you have effectively rendered the rest of the judiciary, that is the lower courts magistrates, as well as the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, you've rendered them dysfunctional because the core court of first instance has been disabled in that manner. And I need to add something here, context for our listeners. The Constitution of Uganda is designed in such a way that it presumes that no one will hold power for more than 10 years. However, since the Ugandan Constitution has been amended in terms of age limits and has also been amended in terms of term limits, we effectively have a life presidency, so that the entire bench in Uganda, from magistrates up to the Supreme Court, over the 40 years of General Museveni's rule, is now constituted by only, exclusively, Museveni appointees.
What prospects of success do you have in this case? Because very clearly, as you mentioned, in around 2022, the Constitutional Court's ruling regarding this contract was made quite clear, and one would assume that this decision would have been rescinded due to the unconstitutional nature thereof, according to the Constitution itself. How much prospect of success do you have?
We might not have succeeded, or might have partially succeeded at the judicial front, and are now faced with this challenge where the executive branch is obstinate and is not listening to the direction of the court. Our hope, however, both as provided for in the Constitution, which says judicial power is derived from and exercised in the name of Ugandans, as I believe many other constitutions worldwide say, the hope that myself and other citizens who agree, right-thinking members of society who agree with this position, is that we will exert ourselves through advocacy, we will exert ourselves through creative activism, we will write about this, we will keep commenting, we will call on judicial officers to hold themselves to the standard that we believe they should hold themselves to. We will take additional actions such as staying away from appearing in courts of those judges whom we believe are not in office based on what the law provides. We will do everything within our power as the citizens to push back against this latest affront to judicial independence. So what I'm saying is that the power ultimately rests with we, the citizens.
Andrew Karamagi, we thank you very much for your time and keeping us abreast of the developments taking place in Uganda. Andrew Karamagi is the lawyer that has taken this case to the Constitutional Court. He takes us to exactly 24 minutes after 4 p.m.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
African enterprise meets global opportunity. Africa in business on Channel Africa.
Now, the Chinese ambassador in South Africa, Wu Peng, says Beijing will continue to deepen its bilateral ties with Pretoria. He took part in the seminar in Pretoria that seeks to enhance global trade cooperation amid rising protectionism. The world is anxiously following the sweeping tariffs imposed by the United States of America. Ditaba Zodetsi has more.
It is a critical time as the world is looking at ways to respond to global trade shifts and their implications for Africa-China trade cooperation. That has been one of the intense issues at the seminar following the devastating tariffs imposed by the U.S. on a number of countries. China's ambassador to South Africa is Wu Peng.
This is a terrible tariff environment. However, I attend today's conference. The main message I send out to South African audience is that I believe the resilience of South Africa economy. Yes, the tariff dispute actually is not formidable. I mean, the earth will turn on and our life will go on.
South Africa's ambassador Xolelwa Mlumbi Peter says that Pretoria still involved in intensive talks with the United States of America and other key markets.
We are engaging with a number of trading partners because we do believe that with every crisis there's an opportunity. So of course we're continuing our discussions with the US with a view to ensure that we find a trade deal.
South African Institute of International Affairs CEO Elizabeth Sidiropoulos says that the African Continental Free Trade Area should be accelerated and promote intra-Africa trade.
All of these today create opportunities for us to be able, as Africa, as South Africa, to explore both trade and investment diversification. These are trends that we've already seen on the African continent. This is not new, whether it's about China infrastructure build or indeed Gulf actors also engaged in some of these and other investment.
China and South Africa have reaffirmed their commitment to promote inclusive global trade. I'm Dita Batsotezi, SABC News.
Stay ahead with Africa in Business, where Thami Ngubeni unpacks your go-to source for Africa's economic trends and development.
Well, it is still Women's Month in South Africa, and this is traditionally a time to celebrate courage, to celebrate strength, as well as progress, specifically in women-related issues. One organization that's making a difference is Relate Bracelets, a not-for-profit social enterprise that empowers women through beading while also supporting causes across health, education, conservation, and community upliftment. Our reporter, Lebohang Mabange, has more.
At first glance, they may look like simple beads, but each Relate bracelet is a loop of hope handmade by senior women, township youth and refugees. For Relate, these bracelets are more than adornment. They are a way to create income, purpose and measurable impact. Dalit Shekel, CEO and founder of Relate Bracelets, explains.
Since 2010, we've sold over 4.5 million bracelets and generated more than 83 million in social impact. This is through earning opportunities for township elders and young adults who make the bracelets, and through funds donated to credible causes in health, education, conservation, and community upliftment. But the real heartbeat of Relate is the people behind each bracelet. Our gogos and tatas, often the backbones of their families, find dignity, purpose, and income through this work.
Shekel says what makes Relate stand out is its unique impact-first retail model.
What makes Relate unique is our model. We call it impact-first social retail, where commerce, community, and cause intersect. Each bracelet is transparent and accountable. Part of the sale goes directly to a cause, part creates income for our gogos and young adult crafters, and the rest sustains Relate so we can keep building jobs and opportunities. No donations, no handouts, just dignity, purpose, and measurable impact.
That's a report compiled by our reporter there, Lebohang Mabange. Takes us to exactly 4:30 p.m. Central African time. Let's head over to our economics desk, where Debo Lehoko is standing by with your latest market indicators.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thanks, Thami, and good afternoon. $1 in South Africa will cost you 17 Rand 54. In Botswana, it's a 13 Pula 29. Namibia, 17 Namibian dollars 54. And in Zambia, it is a trading at 23 kwacha 13 to the dollar. In Kenya, the dollar is a trading at 128 shilling 117. In Ethiopia, 141 birr 95. Uganda, a 3,000 shilling 535. And in Tanzania, it is a trading at 2,000 shilling 492. $1 in Nigeria is a trading at 1,528 naira. In Egypt, 49 Egyptian pound 401. Tunisia, 2 dinar 884. And in Algeria, the dollar is a trading at 128 dinar 8.53. The Moroccan dirham is at 8.89 to the US dollar. In Angola, the dollar is trading at 9.12 kwanza, while the Congolese franc is at 2,846 to the US dollar. Commodities markets now: gold is trading at $3,376 and platinum $1,336 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $67.74 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Tabiso Lohoko.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And for the latest business of sport, here is Figile Lingwate.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And in this business of sport, Thami, we begin with football news. French football side PSG women have announced the signing of Nigerian superstar Rashidat Ajibade on a 2-year contract with an option for an additional year following her departure from Atletico Madrid. The 25-year-old Super Falcons captain, a free agent since June 2025, joins compatriot Jennifer Echegini at the French club. Ajibade's explosive pace and versatility bolster PSG's squad as they aim for domestic and Champions League success. Her move to PSG marks a new chapter after a stellar 4-year stint in Spain. And Africa's football's governing body, CAF, has unveiled the official list of stadiums authorized to host continental competitions for the 2025-2026 season. This certification applies to both preliminary round matches and games in the Champions League and Confederations Cup. With 13 stadiums meeting the required standards, South Africa claims the top spot in the rankings. Morocco follows in second place with 10 approved stadiums, while Algeria rounds out the podium with 9 certified venues. Former Interim Football Association of Zambia, FAR's General Secretary Simata elaborates on why other countries struggle to comply with requirements of CAF.
Number one, let us not even compare with Europe or other areas of association football that are well advanced to most of the countries in Africa. That's about economies of scale, that's about the size of the economy, that's about on the index of richness of the economy. So it will be like comparing fruits, but 2 or 3 different kinds of fruits.
FARS invested $300,000 from the FIFA Forward Fund to upgrade the stadium, indicating a partnership model for stadium development. Simata shed more light on who else invests in building and renovating stadiums in Zambia.
In Africa, and I will give my own country, Zambia, as an example, most of the grand stadiums you find, we have 2, what we call heroes and levy, collaboration or kind of a donation or a loan. The specifics I can't really put my finger on. From the Chinese, they came and built those stadiums. We have had problems trying to maintain them, but they are there. So those are government stadiums. They don't belong to the FA in Zambia. They don't belong to a club. Clubs rent them.
On to athletics. Business Ferdinand Omanyala's finances stem from lucrative endorsement deals with brands like Teka and Adidas, prize money from races, and his own investment in clearing and forwarding company called Febil Interfreight Limited. He had a financially challenging period after 2017 doping ban, but has since become a millionaire, as reported by Pulse Sports, and is now building a multi-million-dollar home and owns several luxury cars, including a Mercedes. Omanyala has secured significant endorsement deals with multinational companies such as Teka. The Kenyan sprinter who holds the African 100-meter record is injured and has pulled out of this week's Diamond League final in Zurich, the last event before the Tokyo World Championships. Let's end with the South Africa Sports, Arts and Culture Minister, Getty. He has warned wayward federations who misuse funds meant for athletes for their own benefit. Mackenzie was responding to Athletics South Africa's President James Moloi, allegedly splurging on international trips and using ASA's credit card at shebeens and alcohol outlets. It is reported some federations allegedly said the minister can't touch them, and this is what he had to say.
I'm in charge of sport. Watch this movie. They say I can't touch them. No, I can push them. Maybe not touch them, but I can push them. They are not these ministers like it's a dear legacy of eaten retex. They are good federations. Very good federations. Now they must suffer because some go and swipe cards at the tavern. I mean, what must I accept those things? I must give money for the tavern. Buy your own beers. They're taking friends words and stuff like that. And they say I can't touch them. Watch this movie. They will see who's Clayton McKenzie, the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture. I've been appointed here to fix sport.
For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is exactly 4:37 Central African time. Still coming up for you this afternoon, a conversation with Standard Bank on the latest Kasi SME National Pitch Challenge 2025, invigorating and equipping township economies to better scale and prepare them for extended markets. But first and foremost, I'd love to hear from you this afternoon. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well as contributions from you on the leading business stories in your area. Where are you talking to us from? Are you in Lesotho, Nigeria, Kenya? Are you in Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire? Where are you? And what are the leading business stories in your area that you believe would be of continental concern? Do send us an email at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. You'll also find us on all the various social media platforms. On X, Instagram and YouTube, you'll find us at Channel Africa 1. On Facebook, we are at Channel Africa.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Weekdays, 6 till 9.
Former politician and diplomat. He's the leader of the Democratic Alliance Party at one stage, and also served as South Africa's ambassador to Argentina, Uruguay and Paraguay. Ambassador Tony Leon, if you were party leader now and in the GNU, what would you be pushing for?
I can speak with some direct experience because, as you might know, I was actually one of the negotiators of the GNU last year when it was formed. What I'd be pushing for is to hold the government or the president's feet to the fire on actually operationalizing the agreement that was implemented. Unfortunately, that agreement has been honored only in its breach. And I think, go back to basics and just say, okay, we're not going any further with this arrangement until we actually implement these steps.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. The KwaZulu-Natal Convention Bureau, in collaboration with Milvest Advisory and the city of Umhlathuze, brings you the 2025 Tourism Investment Forum, Africa. By positioning these regions for sustainable growth, TIFA helps drive their economic ambitions while providing access to critical capital, networks, and strategic insights on investments in the trade services sector, such as tourism. Join us for the TIFA 2025 from August 27 to 29 at Tembela Venue, Richards Bay, KZN, South Africa. Be part of the movement transforming tourism and infrastructure in Africa. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
It is exactly 4:40 Central African time as we focus on minerals. There is a rather strong call for Africa to leverage its mineral wealth for economic growth. This emerged at the two-day Africa Critical Mineral Summit in Johannesburg, South Africa. The event brings together key stakeholders across the African continent, focused on, I quote, minerals diplomacy and the urgent need to ramp up the beneficiation of Africa's minerals. A central theme on the day one was the need for Africa to move beyond simply extracting and exporting raw materials and for the continent to exploit its mineral wealth and manufacture as well as industrialize and create much-needed jobs. Katlego Legori has more.
The third installment of the African Critical Minerals Summit is convened under the theme, The True Value of Africa's Critical Minerals, Strategic Focus on Value Addition. The summit put the spotlight on Africa's potential to lead in the global critical minerals sector through beneficiation, policy innovation, and sustainable growth. With geopolitical developments affecting the continent, President of the South African Junior Mining Council, Fred Arendse, says the continent must use its minerals as leverage on the global stage.
We have enough policies in place. What's important is actually to action those policies and to find those synergies. And here we need to thank Donald Trump, the President of America, that has actually put a lot of pressure on Africa, and that actually, action everybody into high mode to see how best do we collaborate as a continent and how best do we explore and exploit the minerals that we have. And I think in time, the US and the West will see, the value that we as a continent can create with or without them.
This summit aims to position the continent not only as a resource hub, but as a leader in shaping the narrative around sustainable extraction, local beneficiation, and inclusive economic growth. Africa Minerals Strategy Group's Patrick Melinda Lubenga says it becomes a race against time to make this a reality.
We host the biggest reserves of these metals required in the transition. But what are we saying as the Africa Minerals Strategy Group is that we will not be suppliers as we have been. We have supplied the world for a very, very long time. This time we want to be strategic partners. And what does that mean? We locally want to process, even if it means primary processing at home. Then we can export. But above all, we want the industries to be here. And it's possible.
The critical minerals are important for the global just energy transition, digital transformation, and opportunities to industrialize economies and create jobs. Energy expert Professor Samson Mampueli speaks on the importance of beneficiation.
This morning's discussions also touched on the issues around the cost of electricity and the fact that it's starting to affect the economy with some of the industries starting to shut down. So that's where critical minerals and local beneficiation comes on board in terms of safeguarding the electricity prices going forward. When we do local beneficiation, we basically reduce the price of the goods, which basically gets passed over to the goods, to the prices of the electricity.
The African Union has been called upon to be intentional in including local beneficiation of critical minerals as part of economic strategies for the future.
South Africa is the number one supplier of platinum to the USA. But today the USA wants to detect the model of trade via tariffs, which is very unfortunate. DRC has lots of minerals, but they've been cornered by US. So we need to go onto the table and say this is what we have. It's either you come onto the table on our own terms, not your terms. Then we can negotiate in terms of extraction and in terms of processing in-house, and then in terms of the global market itself. So that is the strength that we have. We can't be begging while we have the resources.
This summit comes as South Africa is formalizing small-scale artisanal mining, with delegates also touching on the issue of illegal mining. The African Free Continental Trade Area has been highlighted as one of the avenues to help economies on the continent. Day one of the 2025 African Critical Minerals Summit drawing to a close with calls for transparency, clean governance, and regional integration in realizing the true potential of the critical minerals. There's also talk of investments in the building of infrastructure for local beneficiation of these minerals. SABC News in Johannesburg.
We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628.
It's exactly 4:45 Central African Time. The Competition Tribunal has heard an interim relief application brought by the Cape Gate and Score South Africa against ArcelorMittal South Africa. The mini mills have accused AMSA of predatory pricing in the long steel market. This is after it received a government subsidy to avoid closure of its loss-making business. Now, earlier this year, government extended AMSA a 1.7 billion rand subsidy to extend its operations for 6 months in order to avoid thousands of job losses. Naledi Ngobo reports.
Cape Gate claims that the government subsidy received by AMSA has enabled the steelmaker to outprice other players and dominate the market. The government support was provided between March and April 2025 to allow for a more sustainable solution to be found for the steel producer. Advocate Anthony Gortz, representing Cape Gate, argues that AMSA faces less cost pressures, which has allowed it to cut prices and gain market dominance.
More than doubled its volumes between March and May. Now, if it's more than doubled its volumes and Cape Gate is reducing its volumes, well, that means that there's been a significant shift in market share to AMSA. It can't possibly be correct to say, well, at the beginning of the period I had market share in the region of, I don't want to give the figure, and then I start to predate, I capture market share, which is the point of predation. On its own version, it's doubled its market share in 1 month. That is a very, very significant piece of evidence.
AMSA's legal representative, Advocate Michelle Leroux, has argued that Cape Gate and SCORE are trying to get the tribunal to interfere with government's industrial policy plans. She says the price and volume difference the mini mills are contending are due to the fact that AMSA had restarted operations after winding down on government's instruction.
Because if you were to grant the relief that the applicants seek, you will essentially be blocking government's implementation of industrial policy. Government has told AMSA not to close down, but to operate for 6 months. So if the tribunal were to intervene and kill competition in the meantime, and change the market structure in favour of the mini mills, while the Commission is still investigating a complaint, and while the DTIC has said it is still trying to find solutions to the energy, logistics, and import challenges that South Africa's steel producers, including the applicants, all face.
AMSA has pushed back on the claims against it, saying steel prices are falling globally and that there's no evidence that mini mills are in distress. I'm Naledi Ngobo in Johannesburg.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed. Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Africa in Business delivers key insights and real-time updates on Africa's growing markets with Thami Ngubeni. The African Perspective on Channel Africa.
Channel Africa. It is exactly 10 minutes to 5 p.m. on Central African time, Central African time. That's more like it. We turn our focus now to the Standard Bank slot, which we bring for you every time this week. We look at the Kasi SME National Pitch Challenge Summit 2025, which is currently taking place in the city of Durban in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province. Naledzani Mosimane, who's head of enterprise and supply development at business and commercial banking at Standard Bank South Africa, joins us now on the line. A very good afternoon to you. Great to have you with us on Africa in Business.
Hi, good afternoon, Thami, and thank you for having me.
So this is not the first time, obviously, that Standard Bank has held this challenge, but what is quite different this year is that you've actually extended the Kasi SME Pitch Challenge to different places around the country. So it's no longer just located in one region, but it's now a national campaign. What is it that motivated this move?
So we've been hosting the Kasi SME Summit over the past 2 years, and we've been hosting it in Gauteng. However, what we had been seeing is that a lot of SMEs want to participate. We've had SMEs across the country who had been asking us, why are we not doing it in their province? And therefore, this year we decided to really scale this pitch challenge. We've gone across the country to all 9 provinces. We've identified the top 2 Kasi SMEs in each province, and we have found our 18 SMEs who will be pitching for their share of 500,000 Rand tomorrow in Durban.
And how do you think this will impact township entrepreneurs across South Africa?
So it gives them access to funding. Firstly, we typically know that many township SMEs struggle in terms of trying to get access to funding for their businesses. But I think another thing that it also does, it gives them access to markets, and it really showcases that across South African townships, we really have a diverse set of businesses who are really doing amazing things. We've got SMEs that are in manufacturing. We've got SMEs that are in retail. We've got SMEs that are in healthcare. So I think it really showcases that we have top tier businesses operating within the township economy.
You've mentioned some of the support and the resources that you're going to be offering the various entrepreneurs. Talk us through the actual pitching masterclass, because that's a really important part of what it is that you'll be providing to the finalists. The skills that you're wishing to impart through this masterclass and why these are crucial for entrepreneurs.
So firstly, all 18 of the SMEs that have made it through are going to be on a 6-week program with the University of Pretoria. That is a full business development program that really helps them in terms of managing and running their businesses optimally. To prepare them for the pitch tomorrow, we have had a pitching masterclass. The guys actually just completed it a few minutes ago. And it's really giving them the skills to pitch with confidence, the skills to articulate their business, articulate their strategy, and be very clear in terms of, should they get the funding, what will they be utilizing their funding for? And I think it's very important outside of this space for business in general to be able to sell their business for potential investors. You never know when you might meet someone who has a keen interest in your business, and you need to be able, as a business owner, to sell your business.
So your intended demographic here is Black-owned businesses. Why is this a significant focus for you?
So as Standard Bank Enterprise and Supply Development, we have a mandate which focuses on supporting Black-owned businesses. We typically know that these Black-owned businesses are previously disadvantaged. A lot of these businesses start their businesses out of necessity, and therefore we also know that some of them need additional support beyond the funding, the business development support, so that they can run sustainable businesses. And that's why there's a key focus on these Black-owned businesses, because we believe that businesses are the creators of jobs, and therefore we need to give them each and every single opportunity to be successful, to be sustainable, and to thrive.
So apart from this one particular criteria, what are the other eligibility criteria that are needed in order for a business to participate?
So the business had to be operational for at least 2 years. The business, we were looking for businesses that were registered with the CIPC. We also wanted businesses that we could identify as Black-owned businesses, and the businesses had to be operating within the township economy.
What role does Standard Bank see itself playing in the long-term growth and sustainability of the businesses that participate in the challenge? As you mentioned, yes, there is going to be a 6-week program, but beyond that, what role do you as the bank play in their growth and sustainability?
So, as Standard Bank Business and Commercial Banking, we aim to partner with our clients to help them start, manage, and grow. And therefore, all of these businesses will have access to a team of bankers to support them as they run their business, to support them with banking solutions and to support them with also the non-banking solutions that might come through the different engagements that they have. They are part of the Enterprise and Supply Development Program, so therefore they will get access to business development support for their business. And all of these businesses have actually also gotten funding. So we've given 20,000 Rand to the second winner and first 30,000 Rand to the first winner in each of the provinces. So we've really been on a journey with the top 18 businesses that have been identified.
Naledzani Mosumani, thank you so much for this update. Certainly a really important initiative for small and medium enterprises that are operating within the township economy. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Thami.
Thank you. Have a great one. That's Naledzani Mosumani. She is Head of Enterprise and Supply Development at the Standard Bank South Africa. She takes us to exactly 4:57 Central African time as we make way now for Vue d'Afrique with Joël.
Merci, bonjour Thami, bonjour à tous les auditeurs de Channel Africa. Sur Vue d'Afrique, il sera question de la Côte d'Ivoire où Gbagbo et Thiam ont déposé leur dossier pour la présidentielle. Nous parlerons également de la polémique en Guinée où une figure politique affirme que plusieurs personnes portées disparues sont vivantes. Et aussi de la commémoration ce 26 août du cinquantenaire de la mort de l'empereur Haïlé Sélassié Ier. C'est tout à l'heure sur Vue d'Afrique. Merci de rester connecté. Merci Thami.
Merci beaucoup, Joël. And that's how we come to the end of today's edition of Africa in Business. Thank you so much to our producer, Mabubu Loga, our technical producer, and on social media, Talent Butelezi. On news, Jwalane Tulangwape, Economics Desk, Tabiso Lihoko, and Figile Lingwati on the Sporting Desk. I'm Thami Ngubeni. See you again, same time, same place, tomorrow. Over now to the French Desk and Vue d'Afrique.